Well, we have many, many guests on this channel. And what I try for when I get guests on this channel are individuals who have a brain. And of all the folks that I have on this channel, most folks, when they think about a brainiac, they think about Brian Wang. So today I'm having Brian Wang back. Hey, nice to see you, Brian.
Nice to meet you, Randy.
If you like having Brian on, hit like, hit subscribe, hit notify, because this is just one of several interviews with Brian over the course of a couple of weeks here. And then, of course, follow Brian on Next Big Future. If you haven't gone to nextbigfuture.com yet, you need to go check it out and see what's going on there. And then we both have Patreon. So if you're looking for folks to support in terms of the work that they're doing, because I got to tell you, the advertising does not pay for the amount of time he puts into it. And so follow us on Patreon. And what we're going to get into today is going to be this whole FSD thing. And I'm going to approach it from I hope it's a unique position. Brian, you've ordered, I think, 7 Cybertrucks.
21.
21. You've ordered 21 Cybertrucks. So from day one, from a few days or for a few hours after Cybertruck was introduced, you had in mind a business proposition. You were like, I can see this being a huge business opportunity when FSD becomes a thing. By the way, if FSD hasn't gone fully rolled out, if robotaxis aren't a thing yet, I can assure you your 21 trucks will do very well on Turo. Very, very well on Turo. But anyway, okay, so Brian, talk to me about the business proposition that you're seeing in the Cybertruck and robotaxi.
So the main thing with Cybertruck is that before, I think they stopped it. You could make the low-cost deposit and you'd have the guaranteed pricing on FSD, right? The truck pricing was not guaranteed, because they're going to switch that up. They're not going to charge $40,000 for the base model. But then you can get the locked-in FSD pricing. But it had the advantage of the trucks not being produced for a few years. So, the 1.5 million orders, I'm probably deep in that order queue. So even though they start making the first few this year, probably only 250,000 for lucky next year. Like Elon talked about, 250,000 being the kind of production rate. It could be a couple of years before we get it. So even if Elon's saying that we'll get to full FSD near robotaxi end of this year, beginning of next year, if he's a bit late on that, Elon timed again, then having a full robotaxi vehicle, say end of next year. So then by the time I get my vehicles, my Cybertrucks, then they'll be robotaxi capable. He also, in the interview with Faber, talked about 50-50 or 70-30 split, where the owner who goes into the robotaxi network would get 50-50 or 70-30. I think it's more likely to be 70-30.
Me too.
Or maybe 80-20, right? Which is still plenty of money for Tesla, because he's talking about 5x the utility, maybe 5x the revenue. So it's basically like they're getting, Tesla's cut would be equal to the value of the full vehicle. They kind of like they sell the vehicle and they get the vehicle back in terms of value. But the people will get 4x the value. So that, if you calculate based on Uber levels of revenue, then you wouldn't need to have the Uber driver. So then Uber makes money of the driver's salary plus a bit more, 50% more, something like that. So then with the robotaxi, you can get, say, that comparable level. You get the equivalent of one Uber driver's salary, right? Or 3 or 4 Uber driver salaries from your cut, right? Let's say 3 times that. So 3 times a human driver salary for each vehicle times a fleet of 20, right? Then you get like the equivalent of 60 Uber driver salaries potentially, right? So that's the scenario, the upside scenario of
so 60 times. I think I've heard $17 an hour. It's kind of an average. Maybe it's 20. So $20 an hour times 60. $20 an hour is $40,000 a year.
Yeah.
So 20 times that would be a lot.
Yeah.
You might be able to afford your lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
All right. So that's your theory, is how that's going to work out.
Right.
And while you were talking about it, it occurred to me. So the Cybertrucks, I'm sorry, the robotaxis, because they're out and around, are going to have to charge somewhere else. They're not going to be charging at your station or your house, or your office. If you have 20 of them, you're not going to bring them all back to the office to charge, probably. I wonder if there will also be some kind of a deal that cars and trucks that are being utilized in the robotaxi network would get a different price as superchargers.
Yeah, so there'll need to be some infrastructure there because so right now the vehicles, say we have a balance between supercharging, mega charging, and home charging and stuff like that versus the number of vehicles, right? If you're upping the usage of the vehicles, or suddenly they're driving 3 times as much because people aren't going in their gas cars, right? So suddenly at 3 times, 5 times as much, then there'll be a substantial initial hit to the charging situation, right? Because you're charging them, if you charge them every day, then they go in 300 miles a day, right? Or 500 miles a day or something like that. So it means you're charging them all the time, even twice a day or something like that. Right. So that would be more than, one vehicle would be more than a house. Because if someone who has a solar on the roof and some power walls, they say, okay, I'll have 1, maybe 2 vehicles, but only using them at the normal 10 hours a week.
Right.
So, going to 5 times 60 hours a week per vehicle, you wouldn't have enough, right? You'd have to get someplace and have 6 times, 12 times as much solar charging, or 6 times as much, 5 times solar charging versus a regular house in order to charge up 3 vehicles or something like that. So to go to 7 times more, you're looking at 100 kilowatt hour or something like that. It'd be like, 1/10 of a Costco or something like that in terms of solar. So it's, there's some scaling issues there, or you suck it off the grid. I'm thinking in terms of
I'm thinking in terms of the profits to Tesla as well as the profits to the owner of the vehicle. If they're like, I filled up the other day and it was, I think, $15. Went down to San Diego. We had to fill up. It was $15, I think, to do a fairly large, good fill. If you're filling up twice a day, it's $30. I mean, that it turns into real money. And the question is, would Tesla then give a better rate because they'll know it's a robo-taxi vehicle when it pulls up to the pump, when it hooks in. Would they give a different rate to the robo-taxi than they would to a personal car?
I think that it would just be like they have commercial arrangements with Pepsi for the semi-truck and that kind of thing. I think they guaranteed them 7 to 10 cents per kilowatt hour.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So they already have the model for that. So, and then this would be a business partner, just like Pepsi is a business partner for them. So they have to do that. So then, when they flip over that ChatGPT moment, when the robotaxi stuff comes out, they'll be seeing that a few months ahead of time, but that won't be enough. Like in terms of the whole need for a lot of mega packs and installation and stuff like that, I think there'll be a bit of catch up in terms of getting to the charging capability for all those vehicles.
So you are a forward-thinking person. You said, "Look, I'm going to put in my 20 truck reservation, and when the time comes, I think you'll be able to get banked because they'll see. I think it'll be pretty obvious that it's going to be a really amazing business opportunity. But in fact, for somebody who's thinking ahead, they might be. Maybe they should be out buying some vehicles now because it's not just the Cybertruck Model 3 at, I think with the with the opportunity now in California or across the country now with the IRA, they're under 40,000, but getting down close to 30, I think, after the 7,500. So buying a Model 3, even if you just sat it in a parking lot for the next 2 years, might be a really smart move.
Yeah, I think there's various people in the Tesla Silicon Valley owners thing who, they run a lot of vehicles. I would think the Model Y would be the most optimal one, but sometimes they have different ranges of vehicles. Just like Hertz doesn't have the same car all the time. Yeah, so then you have a variety. You could do it, but it's so there are people making a business out of that. Having 10, 15, whatever, full salary replacement, that kind of stuff. But it's a substantial burden. It's just like running an Airbnb. You can make the money, but it's not a totally easy business. You have to clean it up. Right. That's a lot of effort to do that. So there are Airbnb companies, service companies, where you pay them 10%, 15%, and then they manage the thing. I think there are similar situations now with that for Turo owners and that kind of stuff. So I think that will be a larger business, but hopefully I'll have a Tesla bot to do that. So
there you go. So I had a couple of my cars on Turo, and I was making pretty good money on Turo. And in fact, I used to be able to park it at LAX, and I never had to see the car. Mm-hmm. They took care of the cleaning. They made sure it was ready to go. They were the one that interacted with the individual who came in. So yeah, I never saw the car for months. So I can imagine those kind of services are already existing for Turo, and obviously there would be similar things coming up. So yeah, so a person right now, if they were now, I will tell you, unless you use something like that, having a couple of cars out on Turo can be a royal pain. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of interaction, taking the car out, people inspecting. Sometimes it goes really, really easy. Other times there's a fair amount of time investment. But in the world of robotaxi, owning your own fleet, I think could turn out to be a fairly simple moneymaker. So it'll be really interesting to see how all this plays out over the next couple of years.
Well, also, I think there'll be a need for the large parking lot, with a lot of solar over it. Oh, yeah. Just like there's storage companies, right? Then there'll be the need for these, large plots of land out a little ways, half-hour drive, where things can get charged up. We have a lot of megapacks and a lot of solar and that kind of stuff. So if there's 3 million robotaxis and say there's 100,000 in the Bay Area, then you'll need to have
an infrastructure.
Infrastructure. Yeah, some number of gigawatts of generation with megapacks and stuff that distributed around.
Yeah, and in terms of Elon saying, okay, this year, once again, I was really impressed the other day to see James Dowma saying that for the very first time with version 11.4, 11.4, is that right? Yeah.
4.1, yeah.
Huh? 4.1.
Yeah.
That was the first time that he said he felt he could see the end. That there was a switch from so much emphasis on safety incidences and more of an emphasis on comfort, and that he thinks that is evidence that they are now on the last slope, the last S curve to getting there. So he said 18 months. That was his kind of range. So are you driving?
No, not yet.
FSD. Okay.
No, yeah, I was on reservation for Model 3, but then my other car broke down and I couldn't wait. Life happens. So then I didn't get it. So in terms of FSD, I watched those videos and stuff like that. And Dalma, Whole Mars, Well, Whole Mars and Dalma were the ones who have stated. Like I think Home Arts had a video thing. It was time for the doubters to, or the critics to apologize, like that. So that was a more clear statement. Chuck is continuing to do his great work doing the data and stuff like that. So so I think it's very public how the improvements are being made. Besides Elon making the statement and stuff like that, it's like thousands of people putting out their videos so the progress can be seen, even by people who don't own it per se, but if people are paying attention to the videos, see that the progress is being made. So yeah, and then, well, we'll know basically when Elon said that they'll give the 1 month free trial when it's safe and smooth, right? Yeah. So it'll be the 1 month free trial. Basically, that's the alert to everyone that this is happening.
Yeah, that'll be one alert. I still believe that the real alert will be when he says, if you're on FSD, I'll cover the insurance. That will be the day. And we know, because it should be that way. I mean, I have no ability to say that I'm a lawyer. I specifically chose not to take the bar, but I do have a law degree. And from my recollection of studying law, I don't see how Tesla gets away from not having liability once the car is driving itself and the driver is asleep. I mean, how can you hold a driver liable when they're playing a streaming video? So at the moment he says, when you turn on your FSD, you're covered by Tesla insurance for free.
Yeah. I do think that insurance and FSD will be combined. They're working towards that. But in terms of that, I think it's at the jurisdictional thing. There's some other complexities there. But yeah, the general principle, that'll be part of it.
Yeah. All right. Well, Brian, entertaining and interesting and hopefully useful. If you found this useful or even entertaining, please hit the like button so that we'll have Brian on over. Now, to be honest with you, Brian's going to be on a couple more times in the next couple of days. But if you'd like to even have him more and more and more, then you need to hit the like button. And then also head over to Brian's science blog. I mean, I don't know what parts of science that you're interested in, but it's probably covered on his blog because there's, 8, 12 topics. Just general category, something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 30,000 articles there.
30,000 articles, yeah. And more every day. Always the hottest, latest things going on in science. So anyway, and then we both have Patreon. So hit us up on Patreon if you'd like to support some of the content makers on that you rely on for news and information like this. And so thank you again, Brian. And it's been great talking to y'all.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.